Okay, I'm Joe Bernard. Thank you for returning. Revelation in Plain Language will be on part 12. We left off talking about the empire, the second world system in time. Now we left off at this paragraph. Daniel references to this activity of the beast involves a systematic approach to eradicating God's people in the form of a worldwide army or host whose primary objective is to destroy all religious material structures for worship, place of sanctuary, that is, church building, edifices, any articles or materials, the Bible, anything to do with Christianity. To make illegal all activities, gatherings, communications, or otherwise anything that promotes the worship, the daily activities of God's people, or that is to wear out the saints, or anything that promotes the worship or any ideas of worship which are in opposition to their ideas. Their ideals are forms of worship that are transgression and abomination to the true God. They'll seek to change times and laws and possible calendar change. This world leader is unique in that he has great mysterious powers. If you don't know any better, you'll swear it's the Christ which has returned again. This man does the most incredible miracles you could ever imagine, so that he makes fire come down from heaven in the sight of men. By these miracles he deceives the world and even a lot of God's people, the ones whose lights were very dim. And because they insisted on seeing a miracle, they were blinded and the enemy trapped them. And I mentioned this in the first chapter that many are chasing after miracles and insist on seeing some miracle. Anyone that starts saying that he's doing a miracle in Jesus' name, people run after this kind of people. But Jesus said that there would be false Christ. He said that there would be wolves in lamb's clothing. And just because they jump up in Jesus' name and say they're doing something, people say it has to be true because it's in Jesus' name. Well, obviously, if the enemy knows that he can do that, that he can use Jesus' name to trap you, that's exactly what he's going to do. If you're smart, you would distance yourself as far as you possibly can from that kind of thing. So the great leader caused all of the people to worship the ideas of the first world system and to make an image to it, or that is to worship, or what I'm saying is to work within and comply to the system and its ideas. He made it mandatory to identify with the system. The people were assigned a unique name, number, and a sign that they had to bear the markings of one of them. Now, the mark of the beast is associated strictly with the Second World System, the Second World Government in times. He all those that refused to worship, that is, comply to the world system, were killed either literally or taken out of the system and detained so far as to basically be dead insofar as having anything to do with the system. Now, I want you to understand who this really is and the extent of his power, and the number that identifies him is 600 threescore and six. The fullness of man is the 60 part multiplied as unto God. Remember, as unto God is 100 in 6, in the number of 6, 600. Near perfection multiplied, not perfect, but incredibly convincing man God, evil in man flesh, or the number of man, which is 6. A God, God and evil, God like, a false Christ in the power of evil, godhood, God of the dead, Baal, Lucifer, Satan, serpent, the personification of the devil in the flesh. Now here's the significance of a labor of love for God. Suddenly I looked over and Jesus standing in a place of salvation with an indefinite number, that is 1,000, each in congregations, that is 12, or 12 times 1,000, or 144,000 of saints, figuratively speaking, using the numbers to mark the extent. The actual number of those which will stand with God is indefinite and uncertain. In congregations of 12, characteristics numbers are used to describe. I want to drop down to this paragraph here. John now says, now I want you to listen to me very carefully because I'm going to give you the greatest key. This is the most important thing for you to remember. It does not get any higher than this, so listen as a voice is speaking to you from heaven. This is how you'll know the true saints of God. They keep the commandments of God. They do not comply, they do not give in to a one world system that denies Christ, that is opposed to Christ, that is antichrist. They don't do it. They stand firm. They are faithful until death. They don't give in because they want to eat, or because they're out in the cold, or because baby's crying, or they're losing their business or their reputation, or because they're being blasted, or because they're being tormented, or even dying. They keep the commandments of God. These are those that love the Lord. And by this I will describe to you their faith. They continue to serve God through any and all circumstances, even unto death. Their labors in the Lord and their works are out of a faithful and true love for God. And all through time, these are the ones that labor in the Lord even unto death. They are as stubborn to stand against evil as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It is because of their sacrifice that so many other saints found strength to stand up against the mark of the beast world system, and it is because of them that so many stand in salvation with Jesus, and it is declared from heaven, their labors do follow them. The harvest. The harvest naturally lends itself to the gathering of the souls in the judgment. However, there are some things signified here that need some attention. Firstly, it is very comfortable to see that like unto the Son of Man is a white cloud and golden crown as Jesus. Also the angel coming from the temple or the altar, the messenger of the Father that is only the Father knows, which knows the day and time of such events discussed here. The idea of a sickle is to illustrate the harvest of the righteous by Christ. The next harvest is a messenger from the temple, another messenger from the altar of God. He is over punishment, that is, fire, and gives the command to gather the full ripe grapes, souls of disobedient, for the winepress of God's wrath. Okay, need I say more? But the idea of the numbers deserves some explanation here. Here is the extent of casualties in the lost souls. It is illustrated by how many will be lost from all time. God uses the idea of if the blood of the lost was wrung out, it would actually form a lake of blood for the distance of. Now, wait a minute, let's stop. Let me explain something here. These numbers are not signifying. If you are trying to understand a number which describes an event unto the coming of Christ or Satan, as these numbers, or as he returns from his prison, that's a later chapter, you have to remember that these times are in secret. Therefore, you have to treat the numbers differently and understand what the numbers stand for. They are used figuratively. The numbers here are not used unto a time that is held in secret. Therefore, it is clear that they are actual numbers. Use these measurements to help you to understand the size of a lake if all the blood of lost souls through time were poured out into an area. That being said, you can comfortably and simply see that the amount of blood wrung out, making a lake of about 4 feet deep, extending about 200 square miles. Whatever the amount is, it is a sad commentary. The tribulation angels line up and chapter basically give you the glory of God for the tribulation he is about to pour out on the world system, the beast, which is making war against the saints and have pounded them to death and to near extinction. But God's people have scored a victory, the greatest victory in death, because now they are before the throne of God and are about to witness the dark punishment upon the world. God's people were not sealed against the cruelty of the world system, but those still living are sealed against these horrible events. Armageddon, the sixth plague of God, which is the plague received so fierce as it can only be compared to the total obliteration of a people or their extinction from the earth. The false prophets, the beast, and the dragon will use demonic messengers to sound out a battle cry to all the world. They are trying to get everyone in the kingdom prepared to fight the coming forces of God. They know God's army will soon, someday come to annihilate them, and and finally set judgment on all their wicked ways. They just don't know when.